today we shall be discussing Concord. That basically discusses agreement between subject and the verb in a sentence. So for us to consider the rules of Concord, we have to be able to establish the concepts of subjects and verbs. If we can identify verbs and we can identify subjects, then we will not have issues bringing about an agreement between these two components of a sentence. Because everything about Concord revolves around the subject and the verb. So by way of definition, we say Concord involves an agreement between the subject and the verb in a sentence. So what is a subject? The subject is the performer or the reference in a sentence. The subject is not necessarily the performer of the action in a sentence, because we can have sentences where the subject does nothing. The subject performs no action at all. So if we have a sentence such as this: many students scored low marks during the last test. Many students are lazy. For the first sentence, many students scored low marks. Many students, they performed an action, scored. Okay. In the second sentence, many students are lazy. Okay. So many students are lazy. They have not performed any action, but they are still subject, because you are referring to them. So the subject is the performer of the action or the reference in a sentence. That's the subject. And we know our subjects can be nouns, they can be noun phrases, they can also be pronouns, because we know a pronoun is a word that is supposed to replace a noun. So a pronoun will do what a noun will do. A noun phrase will also do what a noun will do. So talking about our pronouns, we know our subjective case for pronouns under personal pronouns. First person, we have I. Then plural will be we. Second person, you. Plural is still you. Then third person, you have he, she, and it. And plural will be they. So if you have he smells nice. Now in the sentence, he smells nice. The subject there is he. The verb is smells. Okay. Then you have nice. Nice there is an adjective. That's a compliment. Now he smells nice. How does he smell? Okay. That's an adjunct actually, not a compliment. How does he smell? He smells nice. So he is a subject, singular subject. That's a pronoun that refers to a male personality, which is singular. And you have smells. So in the word smells, that's a verb ending in S. And for every verb that ends in S, it is agreed to be a singular verb. So if you have a singular subject, you should have a singular verb as well. That's what Concord entails. So having established the fact that the subject is the performer of the action or the reference in the sentence, okay, we can move ahead to say, okay, what do we know about the verb? The verb is the word that shows the action, the state, or the event in the sentence. Verbs do not always depict actions. My father is a tall man. My father is the subject. The verb in that sentence is. A tall man is a complement of my father. A tall man is a noun phrase that complements my father. My father has not done anything. So saying a verb is a word that shows action will not be grammatically correct, will not be totally correct. So a verb is a word that shows action, state, or event. So you could have expressions where you do not necessarily have actions, but there are verbs, because every sentence should have a verb. Every sentence should have a verb. Every sentence should have a subject. Okay, so the verb is the word that shows action, state, or event. Now, under the context of Concord, there are certain kinds of verbs that we consider, because that's what helps us ensure that agreement that we want to discuss as far as Concord is concerned. And these verbs are grouped into two: the primary auxiliary verbs and the main verbs. The auxiliary verbs are divided into two. You have your primary auxiliary verbs, you have your modal auxiliary verbs. So your primary auxiliary verbs, you have verb to be, you have verb to do, you have verb to have. The modal auxiliary verbs, you have may, might, can, could, shall, should, will, would, must, need, ought to, have to, used to, and the likes of them. Now, for modal auxiliary verbs, you won't consider them under the context of Concord, because they won't be able to show that agreement between the subject and the verb. They will only be showing mood. They will only be showing grammatical mood and grammatical tenses. Okay. But as far as Concord is concerned, we'll limit our verbs to the main verbs and the primary auxiliary verbs. So the primary auxiliary verbs to be, you have the basic ones. Am, used alongside the first person singular pronoun in the subjective case. I am tired. Am is a verb that agrees with I in any case, provided it is present tense. Now, what will be the past tense for am? That will be was. Now, if I am tired, that's my present state. I've not performed any action. Remember, we said the verb is a word that shows action, state, or event. I am tired. Now, the past tense, when I'm no longer tired, that becomes I was tired. Referring to the past. You see, there's still an agreement. Was is a verb. Okay? It's an auxiliary verb, primary auxiliary verb that is the past tense of am and is still singular. Okay? So, for verbs to be, you have am, okay, agreeing with I, first person singular subject. Okay, then when you have you, second person, then you have are. Okay, you are not serious. You are not serious. Now, whether you is referring to just one person or more than one person. Remember, under your pronoun chart for personal pronouns, you, second person pronoun, subjective case, you. Singular, plural, still you. So you could be talking to several people and still say you. You are not serious. You're deceiving yourselves. Okay. So in that case, you must have been referring to several people. So when I say you are tired, you agrees with are in any case, whether singular or plural. And I agrees with am. Okay. Then in the past tense case, that will become am becomes was. In the past tense case for are becomes were. Okay, you are not serious with your studies. Now, if you become serious, I want to relate to a time when you were not serious. We'll say you were not serious with your studies. It means at the time you weren't serious with your studies. So you have verbs to be, you have am, then you have was. That goes for I. Then you have are and you have were. That goes for second person pronoun, whether singular or plural. So long as it's second person you. So you are tired, you're not serious, you're naughty, and the likes. Then for the plural case of the third person pronoun, he, she, and it, plural case is they. Okay, so they are not serious. They are naughty. Okay, so I agrees with the plural form of the third person personal pronouns. Okay, which is they. So for the main verbs are basically lexical verbs. Verbs that most cases depict actions. Okay, so for your main verbs, you have verbs like go, come, sing, dance. She dances well. Now you can't say she dances well. That will not show agreement. That will not show harmony. And that's the purpose of this concept of Concord. We're supposed to ensure an agreement between the subject and the verb. She dances well. She is a singular subject and it must have a singular verb. So dances is a singular verb. Now, another thing we need to get to know is the fact that for our verbs, when they are in their base form, they are plural verbs. Now, when we attach s to them, okay, they become singular verbs, and we can use them for the third person pronouns, the third person personal pronouns, the singular case. He, she, and it. Okay, he is tired. She is tired. It is hungry. Talking about either a baby or a pet, an animal. Okay, it is hungry. Okay, it's asleep. She's tired. She was here yesterday. Okay, he was here earlier today. So you find out that you use the singular verbs for the singular pronouns. In the case of the third person, okay, and when you attach s to your verbs, they become singular. Okay, Eze goes to school. Eze is a person, just a person, and that's a singular subject. Goes is a verb. Goes is a verb that is a singular verb. We've added es to that. You know, that's a kind of reverse case for nouns. When we pluralize nouns, we add es or s. Or we change certain vowels in nouns to form their plural forms. But for verbs, the reverse is the case. So for a singular verb, you need to attach s. So if we have been able to establish the fact that the subject needs to agree with the verb, and we already know the subject, we already know the verb, we can go ahead to consider the rules. And we can go ahead to take as many examples as possible under these rules, and we'll be fine as far as Concord is concerned. Now, it is very important to pay attention to being able to identify the subject in every sentence. At the point you're able to identify the subject in the sentence, you'll be able to tell if it ought to have a plural verb or a singular verb. That way you would have ensured an agreement. And Concord is very, very necessary. It is a necessity that you apply that while speaking and while writing. So it's even beyond your exams and all. So talking about the rules of Concord, talk about the first rule. A singular subject must take a singular verb. So if we have a singular subject in a sentence, there must be a singular verb. Talk about the example we gave earlier. Eze goes to school every day. Eze is a person. Eze is singular subject. Goes is a singular verb. Eze goes to school every day. Okay. Then you have another sentence. A major challenge as regards online learning is the terrible network. A major challenge as regards online learning is terrible network. Now, in that sentence, what is the subject? A major challenge as regards online learning. But then, the subject there is already a noun phrase. And we already said our subject could be a noun, a pronoun, or a noun phrase. Now, for that noun phrase, we need to be able to identify the noun. That is the head word of that noun phrase. If we're able to identify that head word, we'll be able to tell if that head word is singular or plural, then we decide the verb. So if we have a sentence such as a major challenge as regards online learning is terrible network. Now, a major challenge as regards online learning, the head word there will be challenge. A major challenge. We're just saying the challenge as regards online learning is terrible network. So the real word we'll go for is challenge. Because challenge is a singular noun, so it has to take a singular verb. So a major challenge as regards online learning is the terrible network. So you see, that subject agrees with the singular verb is. Is. So it's important to take note of all of these things. So we could go on and give more examples like the man was here yesterday. The man was here yesterday. Now, the man comes here every day. The man sleeps a lot. The man eats a lot. You find out that because we have a singular subject, the verbs are also singular. Remember we said we add s to verbs to make them singular verbs. To make them singular verbs. To make them agree with the singular case of the subject. So that's that about first rule. Now the second rule, the plural subject must take a plural verb. So if we have a plural subject, there must be a plural verb. We should be able to identify plural subjects. For instance, if you talk about several crises have led to unrest in the nation. Now, for us to have had several there, it means the crisis there will be more than one. And we know crisis in plural form will be crises. So several crises have led to unrest in the nation. Several crises, there is a plural subject. Because you are referring to various crises. You are referring to more than one crisis. Okay. So if that be the case, then we should have a plural verb. That's have. Remember we talked about have under the auxiliary verb to have. Have is a plural verb, while has is a singular verb. Okay. Another thing we need to take note of is the fact that most times when we do Concord, all we'll pay attention to is the present tense case. The only point where we pay attention to the past tense case will be for the verbs to be, as in am, was, is, are, and were. Okay. Apart from those primary auxiliary verbs to be, other verb cases are usually present. And all bother our heads about will be to ensure an agreement between the subject and the verb. So if you have a sentence, several crises have led to several crises have led to unrest in the nation. So several crises have. Okay. Now, if crisis there were to be singular, the crisis has led to unrest in the nation. The crisis, C-R-I-S-I-S. So in that case, that will be a singular subject. But now we have a plural subject. So several crises have led to unrest in the nation. So you could have several other examples. Many students hardly read. Many students hardly read. Many students, that's a plural subject. And you have hardly read. You have the verb there is read. Okay. Many students hardly read. So the verb there is read. That's a plural verb. And you have the subject to be plural as well. So you could have several other examples. His analysis of the issue were wrong. Analysis there will be in the plural form. That will be analyses. You know, the singular form will be analysis. So his analysis of the issue were wrong. So it means he had several analyses. So for us to have had a plural subject, then we should have a plural verb. His analyses were wrong. Analysis, plural subject, were, plural verb, remember, under the auxiliary verbs to be. Okay, so were is supposed to be the plural form of was. Okay, so that's that. And for the first two rules, every other rule of Concord revolves around the first two rules. So all we need to do is tell if the subject is singular or plural. If we're able to decide that, then we can attach the corresponding verb to that subject.